Amanda.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Vinland Saga Season 2, Episode 15. Even if you can wait out the storm, there will be scars left behind. I'm on a new notebook. My second one.
Congratulations.
This one was my first one, and this one's my second one.
And do you think you're going to fill this second one up by the end of this season? No. A good bit of it.
No way.
A good bit of it, though.
I'm excited and very nervous. I feel like preemptively emotional for this episode.
I completely agree. What happened last episode, in episode 14, has not been lost on me. Like, it is still there. I can still see Arnade's memories of her past and her son being pulled away from her, and the parallel of Gardar yelling Arnade and hearing her son crying as he's being also taken away. I can still see and hear those moments, and I am very, preemptively, I am already sad.
If only they had named their kid Thorfinn, and Leif could have accidentally picked him up somewhere if he wasn't killed, but it didn't happen.
Yalti is Bug-Eye.
Huh?
Wouldn't that be wild?
Oh. No way.
I know. Too good to be true. Oh, Arnade's too young for that,
Yeah,
too,
I'm like, age doesn't mean... No way. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Sweet. I miss the old song, but this is such a good song.
Those two lines, the blessings, the gods will judge me when I'm dead. Whenever I hear a good wind audio, it gives me chills. Like I am in the wind.
Did you see the title for the episode?
I didn't.
Storm. Oh.
What'd she insist?
The lighting this episode is fantastic. Turn him over tonight.
Use your good looks, Arnade. He's already swooning. They don't see very many pretty women, do they?
Oh my god. You are getting fired.
I think it'd be more than firing. I was wrong. She wasn't able to protect Yalti. A clip in her hair? Could that be used? Did she bring something? He has a knife. Oh! No! Holy shit!
Oh my god!
Her baby.
Oh my god.
Did she really cut it, or did he?
We only need one man. That's it.
They couldn't have gotten far, you'd think.
Holy shit.
Kill him. Oh, doesn't even know what's happening. They're not gonna hide him, are they? That's not why we're seeing Einar right now, right?
I don't think you could.
Under all the hay. Arnade wants them to stay out of it, not get hurt by the storm. It's hard for us, even after seeing season 1, to imagine Thorfinn having done all that. As one who has experienced both. Will he think of Canute? Without questioning it. Any more of them. All the people hanging on.
Oh my god.
なぜ殺した？父を殺され、あんなにも怒り、恨んだお前がなぜ何人もの父や兄、
Fathers, brothers, and
したんだっ
sons.
て。俺はこの人たちに償いをしなければいけない。この人たちが安らかに眠れるところへ連れて行ってあげなければ。もうこれ以上は無理だ。これ以上は一人だって背負えない。
A single additional person.
これ以上殺したり壊したりしないってだけじゃ償いとは言えない。今まで踏み潰してきた以上の麦をこの手で育てなくちゃ。
Oh my god.
今まで燃やしてきた以上の家をこの手で立て直さなくちゃ。剣を必要としない地を作りたい。
Like your father.
俺だって戦争は嫌いだけど、バイキングはどんなところにもやってくる。平和や自由を守るためなら戦わなきゃならない時もあるよ。
でもそれじゃダメなんだ。平和のために戦争してちゃ意味がない。
There's no point if you fight for peace.
あの殺し合いの地獄からは抜け出せない。
やっぱり夢みたいな話は夢みたいなままか。どこか地の果て、
Beyond the
果
ends
て
of
の
the
果
earth.
てにでも行かなきゃ。そんな仲間外れ
A
の
land for the outcasts.
人間のための土地。
Vinland.
海の彼方まで逃げ切ったら、そこには何があるのかしら。どこまで行ってもここと同じ戦と奴隷商人がいるだけ。
遥かな西、海の向こう。どんな権力も届かない、どんな奴隷商人も知らない。
あるのか、そんな土地が。
ある。忘れていた。子供の頃レイフという船乗りにその話を聞かせてもらったんだ。死の大海の果てには
He wanted to take you
豊か
there.
な土地が広がっていると。手つかずの大地があるそうだ。
ならそこへ行けば。
いや、
Look at his eyebrows.
恐ろしく遠いとも聞かされてたし、正確な場所もわからない。しかも国づくりだ。大勢の仲間外れを連れて行かなきゃならない。
いや、でもやっといい話を聞けたよ。
Something he'd forgotten.
ったく何なんだよ。
逃げたんだ。
え？
ガルザルが逃げた。
Arnade.
アルネイさん。
Okay, that was Vinland Saga, Season 2, Episode 15. Me having a new notebook served no purpose. I didn't write anything down but the episode title in the first few seconds.
Your eyes were glued.
Yeah. Two completely different plots, like different stories here.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them were just as equal in how captivating they were and how emotional they were and how they managed to frame all of the dialogue.
Yeah, definitely like A plot and B plot. The conversation between them were slavery and violence, war and violence, and losing out on freedom due to violence. Those were the two topics, and the slaves being utilized were obviously Garter for the first point, and then Thorfinn for the second.
I think my favorite part of the episode was Thorfinn remembering the idea of Vinland through remembering telling it to Hordaland. I think her name
Through
was.
telling it to, you're so
the
right.
feudal lord's daughter.
Yeah, it was a feudal lord's daughter that was then taken into slavery by like Askeladd's uncle?
Gorm, I think.
And for it to be through her that he remembers that this thing that he's been saying, there's something that
he told this to somebody else, you know,
and she was a slave. He was not at the time that he said it. He was a slave to his own, you know, motivations, but he was not an actual slave that couldn't have freedom if he didn't want it. And Hordelin was a slave, and he told her about it, and this is the second time that he's telling a slave about it. And having that be his remembrance is through kind of having a similar interaction of being able to tell someone in slavery, not just himself, about this idea. As well as we know that Leif is on his way. Great timing to have Thorfinn remember what we've been kind of waiting for him to fully remember.
I'm so scared of what's to come with Canute, because like to get you there, like my train of thought there was just like, I absolutely adore this show. I can't believe they've exceeded all expectations when they're going to make the ballsiest claim ever that the entire season 1 was a prologue. I can't believe it. This means so much to me. This feels like it's this feels so much to me. I don't want, like, what this did for me, for what Thorfinn is acting upon right now and thinking about. I don't want to be trampled on or disrespected.
Right.
And I'm scared of that.
I think that it's very fair to be scared of it, especially now from this episode, from Thorfinn's dialogue, because before now, we didn't know what violence would be justifiable to him in his current mindset. There was still some gray area to me that if someone he loved life was being actually threatened, like someone was going to kill Einar in front of him at this point after the episode Oath, what would he do? I was still waiting for a very clear line that he was going to draw between what he would justify, what he would do.
Not a single individual body. Not one.
Yep, that's I wrote that down because that's when it became cemented for me that he is not going to add a single additional person. He will not justify the violence. He would rather be a coward. And it's like, finally, I've known it since Oath, but I've been waiting, I guess, because I know that life is so complex and human emotion is so complex and situations can be so, you don't even know how to predict what's going to come.
Yeah.
And what you might feel or who might be the person that is at the point of a sword. And so I didn't want to completely assume what Thorfinn would do or not do if his life again was threatened or someone he really loves' life was threatened. I was leaving there to be room for explanation on his end of how he would handle those situations.
Rightly so.
And he has finally said it, and therefore my nervousness has heightened more so than it was before. Because
the situation of the not knowing what he'd do in the moment still is there. Mm-hmm. That is still present because of the fear of Canute or the fear of any... In fear of any of the world that he is willfully aware is around him. We know that's there. And like you said, what if Einar was about to be killed? That's still there. But what's so scary now is it's been completely made out for us of what Thorfinn wants. And the thought of him the thought of him ever having to even doubt those desires and being pushed to that is something that is awful to me. And this show is really special to me.
I think we're aware as viewers that the fall for Thorfinn, what fall would happen for him, is like astronomical at this point. If someone has so heavily almost banked their life on this, they have banked their soul on this, their heart, their personal, their love for themselves, their feeling of rebirth and salvation, and they have put it all on this idea that they are no longer going to fight even if they are thought of as a coward and they are breaking what is the norm of the Norse man, that they will not add an additional single life. That is such a declaration that has him, that he's really putting his whole self into, his whole heart and soul into, and that's on the line if he falls. Like, he is being reborn here. He's deciding who he wants to be. He has criteria for it. He is spelling it out for us of what that means and what he's willing to be thought of by other people as an outcast and a coward. He's willing to have to run away and atone for the rest of his life. And the fall, if his body moves on its own. We know that when Einar and him were in the fight with the retainers, Thorfinn moves. He moves so quickly. And it's like his muscle memory there of being on the battlefield in a defensive position and being on the run and being protecting.
In terms of Snake, right?
When he was fighting the retainers.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And that is also worrisome because if he's put in the actual scenario again, we've now seen it. This is a different Thorfinn than the one who let himself be kind of beat up and his ear cut off before Snake arrived. And then after some growth and after kind of learning more about who he is and who he wants to be through his friendship with Einar, to then being defensive of the wheat and defensive of Einar after the retainers ruined it, to muscle memory movement of getting involved in the fight, it does worry me that his body might not act the way that his heart and mind want it to. And that idea that he might not feel like he has total control over like his human body, that his soul might be transcendent in this idea of this beautiful world that he wants, but that his like he can't control his body at the end of the day.
I the second that he touched his own shoulder there, I immediately was like, holy shit, I'm witnessing like the best thing ever. And another thing I didn't think I'd get, but I can't believe we did, is the response to how do we do that? Like of Einar being like, bringing up the question again, bringing up the statement of the life and the world that Thorfinn wants to live in and asking how is that achievable? I didn't think that we'd hear anything from Thorfinn yet, like this episode. And I'm so happy we did. It was better than I could have ever expected. And the idea that he's like, he's reverse, like, constructing it, right? He's breaking, like, first of all, he acknowledges, like, where his position is in all of this, and almost like he doesn't have a right because of the things that have been done, but then explains and outlines where the primary source of slavery comes from, tracks that back down to war, and again says what he's done, and then says, if I just stopped, like, fighting for peace is fucked. If I just stopped right now, that's not atonement. I need to be able to grow, double the wheat, double the homes, more the wheat, more than the homes that I've taken. And like him, like I loved it, because coming from a Thorfinn that even episodes ago was so broken that he didn't feel like there was a chance that redemption was possible, that any type of change was possible. Turning into this is beautiful. It's phenomenal.
Right. I really liked how kind of simplified but accurate his kind of wording was of not from the segue of Einar being like interested in what Thorfinn's opinion would be, because he is one who has been a part of both war and slavery, knows kind of both sides of that coin that is being shown to us as basically being so interconnected. that a warrior equals a slave trader. They basically have both of those jobs. If you're a warrior, you're a slave trader. That being added in was really powerful. And I wanted to cry upon a line you already referenced about growing more wheat and building more houses. And before that, he had said that he wanted to take the dead that are hanging on him somewhere peaceful. And I'm like, and it brings you...
What a wise, fantastic thing for that character to say.
There's something about it that's very, like, I would say accurate to how we view, like, memorials for the dead in terms of, like, you want there to be a final resting place that is clean. That's why it's so bad if a graveyard gets, decimated or disrespected or walked on, or you build on top of a graveyard. It's because you want the dead to be able to rest in peace. You want them to still have dignity and respect even though they are long gone. And having Thorfinn say that line was, like, so emotional to me. Like, he can't do anything else for them. Like, he can't fully atone for what he's done, so he's just going to continue doing good things, continue doing the best that he can on this new rebirth path that he's on. He's going to keep sowing the seeds of, like, peace, and he's going to inevitably, hopefully, at the end of his day, the dead that are with him will also be able to rest. And that's so beautiful.
It's so good. There are a lot of people who try to talk about the idea of change and if they believe or think people can change. And when you get, like, stupidly niche philosophical about it, then you're even arguing what does change mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
And are you not just becoming the most refined version of yourself and each part of it's the same being? Fuck that for a second. Like, the idea of change and of inner growth, I think that a lot of people, at least I'm happy to know, feel like that they've changed in the past 10 years. And some of them, if not most of them, I'm happy to say, would say that they have for the better. Now, that's not just for them to determine, I don't think. But the idea that Arnade and Einar are living in a world that they'd be surprised to hear that Thorfinn was a warrior and on the battlefield as much as he was. Like, we had... God, that's amazing. And we had like the idea of a kid Thorfinn not even looking like a warrior to begin with because he's a kid, but him being one, being brought up, and just, I don't know, that absolutely broke me. Everything. This episode is a masterpiece.
I don't want to leave the topic that you just brought up. I want to stay there for a little bit about that idea of hard to imagine Thorfinn as a warrior. I think I said it during the episode in terms of, like, immersive reaction to that moment. I was like, it's hard for me to imagine Thorfinn like that. And not just because of physical change, like, of appearance. Like, yes, he looks older, hair is different, facial expressions are much less wild than they were in season 1. But because we've spent literally such significant emotional time with Thorfinn this season in terms of, like, building a foundation for him when there was not one. Thorfinn was very empty shell in season 1 because of the fact that he was literally just a kid thrown into this thing, and just his body was acting, and he was so tunnel vision on something that he was, for lack of any other idea to kind of explain it, he was rather empty. That is what he had, is his motivation for revenge. That is what was there. He wasn't even remembering his father's words. He was just latching onto his father's death and his revenge story. And we're seeing him become a much fuller filled cup here in terms of, like, we're watching a foundation and a building of who Thorfinn is. And so now that we're actually getting to know him, and at the same time he's deciding what he wants to fill his cup with, who
Mhm.
he wants to be. He's making it himself, deciding it himself. He's shaping himself. It is hard to imagine that those two people are the same person,
Yeah.
even for the viewer having seen all of those episodes in that prologue. And so that line is almost fourth wall funny.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like, think about the Canute who's going to show up and the Thorfinn who's right here versus the Thorfinn who is in the back of that carriage with the Canute that was in the back of that carriage.
Right.
Think about and compare what these two people are doing with their lives when neither of them can escape the dead.
Mm-hmm.
And
on the religious aspect, they're both approaching it at different times. Like, Canute was raised in the Christianity, and has, at the point of his grieving over Ragnar, kind of put aside, God and the teachings, and was like, I am going to strive for peace because I need to put it into my own hands, or everything is just always going to be bad. Like, God is not doing anything for us.
Mm-hmm.
And Thorfinn in the recent episodes is just now really listening to the Bible. The stages where they're actually hearing the teachings from the Bible and coming into Christianity and their view of God. Like, I don't think Thorfinn's listening to Christianity as the way that Canute had heard it when he was a child, of like, God's gonna take care of everything. What we hear Thorfinn listening to from Snake is a passage about just how to live as a good person.
Yeah.
So that's what his focus is these teachings that are much more like morality of how you interact as a person to another person, and less about, oh, there's a mighty God up there that's gonna smite you, judge you, protect you, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that. But also in that same conversation, and then we can leave it, I just had a little questioning to bring up of, he especially didn't want Arnade to know that he had been a warrior. Is that because we're bringing up a lot of like sons, brothers, fathers, and we're very male centric with the idea of war in this conversation, and the idea of Arnade knowing he didn't want that? Or is it much more that he sees her as pure like the women that took care of him in that one village?
I could also change her image of Thorfinn, I mean, not saying it would, but the idea that, oh, Thorfinn is the same type of person who took Mia,
after
away.
Hearing her story, is that why he's come to this?
Think about how Einar reacted to Thorfinn initially, right, and like what that was like.
Mm-hmm. You're right. I didn't really think about it in terms of the timing of what he's just learned about Arnade's past, and the fact that she is also a slave, and he's already gone through telling one other slave about his past,
mm-hmm,
that he was very kind of rather empty at that initial moment in terms of his idea of himself and who he wanted to be and how he wanted to be perceived by people. And now he has much more of an idea of how he wants other people to view him, because he's viewing himself in a different way.
Yeah.
And so I liked that little addition, that he's now kind of conscious of not only he's conscious of himself in terms of he's having nightmares and he's having trouble in difficulty sorting through his past, but he is also aware that, like, oh my god, how do I walk into a room with a bunch of slaves or have a conversation or get close to someone who I know, like, I could have killed their dad.
Yeah.
And that's also just like a very interesting point of that conversation.
I liked how this isn't, I was fearful that this was just going to be like an easy, like, that's what we have to do, Vinland, period.
Right.
But like the idea, the awareness that Thorfinn has, I really appreciate, of how much of a massive undertaking this would be. Specifically the word choice for outcasts,
mm-hmm,
because of that, within the culture and civilization, that is what you'd be. And that is something that you can be proud of, being different for those reasons. But just the undertaking that literally crossing the world and creating your own country or place or civilization or village is. I love that it's not just like a, oh yeah, let's do it, but it's met with its expectations set at its correct height, yet it is still the first piece of good news that A&R was able to hear in a while.
Right.
I just am brought, like, imagine that little fucking kid sneaking onto a ship, can't wait to get into a fight, versus Thorfinn. I
really appreciate that the realistic nature that Thorfinn is approaching this idea, this ideal, this dream, as Einar has phrased it. I appreciate that as a viewer that it's not being so glorified as this, like, that there's a realism to it, and that it's not just this incredible ideal that he's not truly thinking about how to achieve it, and he's just shooting for it, and he's gonna, get people's heart set on something that maybe doesn't even actually exist because it was a story that Leaf told to a bunch of children in a village as a traveling sailor.
It adds so much weight to think about, like, the distance of things. There was a lack of appreciation on my part of understanding and really getting what the distance means in this case, because of the inevitability of Vikings, of people who are going to explore and take, and like what Einar said about, like, what about when people try to attack, like, you need a defense, and the option of just getting so far away within this world that's not even on the table is something that's so cool.
Yeah, Einar even says it, like, no matter where you go, eventually the Vikings will show up.
Man. I'm a wreck. I feel like I need to take a shower or something. I feel like I need to, like, not just, like, a shower, but, like, one of those that you're, like, staring up while the water's, like, pouring on top of you. Or
if we had, like, a rain shower, I feel like that would definitely work out better.
I think, like, ideally, this might be a weird place to go with it because of what the first intro was, but if I could, like, have a perfect world, I'd have, like, a really nice temperature pool right now, and I'd just, like, hold my breath and, like, go underwater and let out on my breath so I can sink to the bottom and then just stay there and, like, be for a few minutes,
Alive?
Yeah, of course. When I was
I can't hold my breath for very long.
When I was younger, we had this guy come, he was an exterminator, and he came over to our house, and my family, where I grew up, we had a pool, and this guy asked a couple times over the years of getting to know my family if he could, like, hop in the pool, because it was in the middle of summer, and he was, like, tired and sweaty. And through that relationship over, like, the next few years, like, I would talk to him every now and then, and it turned out, like, he had done a bunch of military training, and one of the things that he could do is hold his breath for longer than I could believe, and he taught me how to hold my breath longer than I could at the time underwater. And whenever I'd feel, like, overwhelmed, or I had just watched the Percy Jackson movie, so I really liked water, or I needed to think about things, I would, like, go into the pool and, like, just sit at the bottom of the pool alone for a while. It's cool.
Does he do that in the movie?
I don't want to spoil anything.
I can't remember. It's been so long since I saw the movie and the Percy Jackson movies, and I was so angry at them that I stormed out of the room because I had read the books.
Yeah, I needed to throw in the Percy Jackson thing for you.
Oh, for me? Thank you. I love Percy Jackson.
I love this show. I'm really excited to see where it goes.
I'm nervous to see where it goes. I mean, we haven't even talked about what we think of what's going to happen with Garter having escaped and what that means for Arnade.
You're right. We didn't talk about it at all.
We need to at least spend a second on
Oh, you only
ending.
need one man watching them. Yeah, but he fucking bit his throat out.
That was disgusting. Disgusting.
For a split second, was like, holy shit, Arnade's not going to do it. Not going to cut him out. Holding her stomach.
We don't even know if she did.
Or if he just, like, willed himself out.
I mean, he literally just bit someone's throat out and killed them. I wouldn't be surprised if he walked up to one of those swords on the ground and kind of rubbed his arm against it or something. Like,
maybe that was his injury or something.
Maybe. I mean, if he killed one guy by ripping his throat out with just his teeth, he could have been creative with killing all those other guys.
We saw a hand on the floor too. Shouldn't forget about that.
Did he cut his own hand off to get out of the ropes?
That
I would not put it past the current mental state of that man to be able to cut his own hand off.
I mean, they're right that it was raining. They didn't have a horse. They couldn't have gotten far, but I think it's interesting that we haven't found them yet.
And what we see is Snake just sitting in Spherical's house.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he sitting there? Why is he not looking? Did they go out and they weren't able to find them? I mean, the rain is kind of a great time because would it hide the footprints?
I mean, mud.
The mud would, you'd think, show the footprints. So how would they have gotten away? I mean, I'm worried about Arnaid because she still has not told him about Yalti, and she's also pregnant with another man's child.
Do you
think that's a lot?
In like a different world and a different person, a person in Arnaid's position, I wondered if they would like hold the aspect of having a child ransom, like to the owner himself.
To Quetzal?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they could use that, especially to a man that would have probably been as happy about the child or wanting to save the child's life as a person like Quetzal.
We're getting our forces mowed down.
Oh my god, I didn't think about that.
Canute
is literally about to be on his way.
And now
and Carter just killed all those men.
Yeah, and if Kettle like does anything other than punishing Garter and Arnaid, like, to the utmost of potential, then Snake might be pissed and be like, I'm not going to fight for you. All my men just got killed. You're not going to do anything about it.
That's true. It might put them at a point of contention.
I don't know.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
That's all I do. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.